I've just had an interesting morning in my meditation, and I was told to share, and this is going to be very weird. Okay, I've been asking more about like clearance, understanding and clarity on my mission. Like, what exactly am I here for? What am I meant to do? And all the things. And I do hypnosis, I do connecting with your higher self. I'm now helping to integrate the multidimensional self, just all these things. And so I know about like the darkness, what we call the darkness, but I've always embraced them as just aspects of source. And I've always been told it is not what you think. My higher self has said that multiple times. Well, this morning I connected in, and what came through was not what I was expecting. And so I'm just gonna throw it out here. Okay. Now, what I was also told was that this is not everyone's mission. That's why maybe you will resonate, maybe you will not. Okay. So take it or leave it. It's a very interesting perspective. I'll say that much. But when it came through, and once I kind of like embraced it a little bit, it really made a lot of sense. Okay, so let me just share. What I got was, what if some of us light workers chose to come here as an inside job? And in that inside job, it's never been about our mission, however, has not ever really been about the human evolution. It's been about the evolution of those that have been playing the game too long. Those we label as reptilians, draconians, the Orions, the Greys, whatever. Like all of these beings that even get labeled the Archons. And what came through was that they were saying, why do you think that your lifespan has been shortened? We knew that it was so dense and the fact that we couldn't remember, because good Lord, we didn't want to remember all the things that had been done to us. So they allowed them to make our lives shorter, but it was to really help us because, as you know, we're tired, okay? And this happens in every lifetime. But with us coming here repetitively, we have done enough light within them. They have seen some sort of what's coming in is they have been allowed to witness compassion within all the things that they've done to us. When they thought that they could tear us down even further and break us, they were unable to. And that, in this lifetime, has shifted many. I know that to be true because I have had many of them choose to go back to the light in my sessions. And I know many others who are doing this work who also have stated that these beings have chosen to go back to source. So that tells me that if you're drawn to spirit release, if you're drawn to entities, if you are feeling these attachments, I feel like that could be your mission. To embrace that aspect, to give it compassion even though we may have thought in the past they didn't deserve it, right? I think it's also, I've had my own spirit release session. This is kind of what got me started, and I had a lot of attachments. I had 3, what I saw, I would just call them reptiles, okay? I know that that's like the umbrella. One was very like snake looking face. One had like more of elongated lizardy looking. And one was like a shorter snout, but I seen wings, okay? And in that, basically whenever it came time for them to come up for me to let go of them, they were attached to my hip. They came through with a message and they cried and they said, you contracted with us and we have learned so much from you and we are so thankful. We didn't want to leave. We were not here to harm you. We were not here to hurt you. We've actually enjoyed our attachment to you. And as you have awakened, it has awakened in us. And they cried and cried and cried. Okay? Well, I didn't quite get it then. I was just like, oh, that's really cool, right? Like, that's neat that I was able to do that. I have yet crossed over many beings. And I've had many sessions in which sometimes these beings will say, I remember you. I remember you. I remember this conversation. So then what came through was, imagine that you were like the CIA agents in disguise. You have been going to Earth multiple times, dropping nuggets of truth throughout many lifetimes in our linear time. And those have now been able to blossom. There was no way in this particular lifetime that we would not awaken. Now, there are still some that are kind of stubborn, that do not want to give up reign. They also told me this is why everyone's not destined to wake up in this lifetime. And they said that a parallel universe of Earth, not a universe, but a parallel Earth, is going to continue in this way and allowed to get even worse, because the ultimate goal, I feel, and this is what they were kind of trying to explain to me. And again, I don't know if I have all of it, but I like channeled, and I should have recorded. It was that good, but I didn't want to stop because stuff was flowing. But what has been allowed has been for the greater good of all. Because those beings have been playing this game for eons, they have destroyed planets, they have done all kinds of things. Now it's like, okay, kids, you had your fun. Now it's time for you to evolve. And so they wouldn't have evolved naturally. Like, they would have never made the choice to do this. But here we are. Some of us chose to come here, play the games that they wanted us to play. And if you've ever read that parable, The Little Soul and the Sun, this is where it rang true to me, and I think it woke me up to that part of me. But today they showed me it had two meanings. The first meaning was us light workers. We knew what we were doing when we got here. We made the decision to play the game, to do the good, the bad, right? Like, we wanted to play polar opposites. We wanted to be engulfed into the game that they wanted us to play, in knowing that the one that was playing the light would wake up and then be able to forgive, and some way, somehow, that energetic connection of forgiveness to them would wake them up. And then they would remember who they were as well. So it was like this ripple effect, right? Because we are multidimensional beings. We are aspects of source, and that was the mission. And so the more of us that played the game from within, we abided by their rules and we did whatever they wanted us to do, that allowed us to help them. They saw something in us that they didn't understand. And this particular lifetime, all the things that they have done have always worked. Well, it's almost as if it was allowed to do that because we had to continue dropping nuggets of information. Comes in maybe crystals, stargates, all the things that we've placed maybe even in the grid. And everything was set up to evolve now. And it was all designed for this reason. And so then I was shown that it was like, okay, so God created all these different opportunities. And it's like, this is what they showed me. They're like, God was like the teacher, okay? Earth is like the field trip. And when we go to Earth, each of you are going to have sections, aka where you live. And in those sections, when you go, you're going to have assignments. And those assignments are going to all be different because there's only like, so many in per group. It's a group effort. But the thing is, you can't all go to the same place because we want each of you to have your own learning and experiences. So then when you come back together, you can share what you got from that experience. So it's kind of like an assignment, okay? And so the reason we don't know each other and we don't feel like we have the same mission is because we were done like that on purpose, because we had to go and do these things. We had to go and discover those nuggets on our own, and we had to really dig deep and find our own true self and find our way back. And it's so crazy to think that we would have chosen that. But it's also beautiful in the sense because I've always had compassion for them. I've always felt really deeply sorry for them, because it's like, I can see why once you get into that, like, you don't want to come out because, it may seem fun, but I do feel that at some point it gets boring, right? And I think that's kind of where they are, but they didn't know that they were there. And that's kind of like where we're kicking it in. But when they told me that it was just an inside job, y'all are like the CIA agents, and y'all are there on an assignment, and your particular assignment is to awaken them, to awaken the Archons. Because it's like, it's a entire, like a galactic awakening, because we are galactic too, right? But it's like this huge planetary, it's not just Earth, and it's not, it's all planets within the solar system are having an evolution, and it's coming from the inside job. Because we're all connected, we're all multidimensional, and so, as we heal this version of self, it ripples out in all dimensions, right? Time and space is affected. So, I don't know. It's kind of mind-blowing, and I need to probably read back over my notes again because I journaled a lot of this as well, and then I laid down and meditated and more. Like, I started channeling this information, and I was just like, holy shit. So, what do you think? Do you think that those of us that are really into spirit release, we see entities, we work with entities, maybe it's our mission, that was a part of it. I was also told on that note that we contracted to have these attachments to us. So if you find yourself with these attachments, maybe that's why. Maybe your role is to find your way back to self And in that finding way back to self, back to source, you then help them evolve. Like, that's the mission. It's never about, like, of course the healing work gets you there, right? But that is why some of us are just like engulfed with them. And that's why some of them never have that to worry about. Like, you hear about so many people, and it's like, oh my God, you must be possessed. Like, I never have to worry about that. But it's not their mission. So they told me it was a contract. And I was told that by my 3 that were attached to me. So I know that to be true. And there was other things that were attached to me. So I feel like all of those attachments and implants and technology were all part of the contract. One, because they needed the information. Like, they were saying, like, this is why it was an inside job, right? You go in, you get data. So having all these contracts, having all this stuff attached to us, having all of these experiences was feeding back to them from the inside what was really going on. And it helped them help us decide how we could actually come in with the life so that we were the most penetrable to them. And like I said, so many of them are giving up reign. Many of them are actually going back to source and realizing, like, holy crap, I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of being told what to do. I'm tired of, having to feed off of other people's energy. I'm tired of not being able to create myself, right? Because they lose all that once they go into that lower density. So, anyways, food for thought. It was a lot, and I feel like more will unfold, but I never would have pictured that. I would have never ever thought that the awakening could also be the awakening of the Archons. And for me, it makes total sense. It makes complete sense why I'm here. It makes complete sense why I've been drawn to them. It makes sense why they were attached to me. Why I've had these experiences. It makes sense why I met my husband, because he also had them. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, so much more stuff makes sense just because of what I've experienced as a kid all the way up to this point. And I'm just like, wow. I don't know. Do you resonate with that? Does it make sense to you? Have you had those experiences? Leave me a comment below. I'd love to know, like, if this even triggers things in people. And if you've had these experiences yourself. Sending you so much love. Until the next one.